What happened next was beyond alien comprehension. The alien warfleet charged its plasma cannons with an ominous hum, ready to vaporize the vulnerable human colony and all its millions of inhabitants in an instant. But behind asteroids, hidden in the darkness of space, Admiral John Vega's battle-hardened fleet lay in wait, ready to spring a trap on the arrogant invaders who dared threaten humanity's Terra Nova. Failure was not an option for Vega and his people. Either humanity prevailed now, or millions would perish under Brenyon guns. The cunning admiral had spun an invisible web, luring the overconfident aliens closer. Little did they know. Today they would learn a lesson: never fight with humans. Sergeant Harris scanned the skyline. His eyes landed on the city's tall spires where people bustled, unaware. He turned to his squad, the Earthborn Rangers. "Move out. We wire the bridge first, then the plant," he said. His voice cut through their chatter. The Rangers moved out, steps purposeful, gear clinking softly. They knelt in an alley beside explosives. Harris lifted one, turned it in his hands, and placed it under a trash compactor. He armed the device. No one spoke. Their silence was agreement. Their resolve. They continued through the city, leaving unseen death for unwanted visitors, turrets between billboards, bombs under manholes. The city was a trap ready to spring. A boy watched from a window. Harris nodded, his scar catching the fading light. The boy nodded back and disappeared. Even the young understood. Night fell. Harris stood before the city's leaders. Weary, determined faces watched him point at a map, the city now a weapon. "We fight smart, choke points, home advantage, we use it," he said. Heads nodded, understanding. A steel-eyed woman stepped forward. "The others?" "Marked routes. Alarm sounds, you move fast. Don't look back," he said firmly. No debate. Morning came. Civilians had trained with them. A mother showed her daughter how to load a rifle. Above, the fleet battled enemies. Below, Harris's grip tightened on his rifle as shadows approached. Dropships burned through the sky. Rangers took positions, breaths even, fingers on triggers. Eyes met in silent promise. One message for the enemy: no trophy here. The ships drew close, battle looming. Not fear, but burning resolve filled the Rangers. They would defend their home. Show the galaxy human strength. Zarak stood on the bridge, staring into space. His silver eyes swept over the crew manning the consoles. Their hearts beat with a warrior's rhythm. "Deploy all units!" Zarak's voice echoed through the deck. The crew sprang into action, flicking switches and pressing buttons. 100 ships signaled their readiness. Lieutenant Kragan stood behind Zarak, posture perfect but mind racing. He had heard rumors of human cunning. Were they true? Questioning Zarak was death. He swallowed his doubts. Glowing plasma cannons cast blue light on the crew's faces. The first volley streaked through space toward Terra Nova. Zarak leaned forward, ready to taste victory. The warfleet advanced, a looming shadow of destruction. Then the humans appeared. Silent ships shot out, firing lasers and torpedoes. Blossoming explosions plucked ships from existence. Admiral Vega's vessels swirled and struck like a fist, crushing Zarak's line. "Impossible!" Zarak roared. "Full assault!" The deck vibrated from the crew's wild cries. Kragan watched the unpredictable humans. His doubts swelled, but he held his tongue. Zarak had never known defeat. Today, the humans rewrote the menu. John Vega stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the screen. His breathing was steady. The crew stood at attention. In the dark void of space, stars flickered. Ahead loomed the Brenyon flagship, a massive beast armored like a fortress. Its shields shimmered, absorbing the railgun fire from Vega's ship Intrepid. "Steady," said Vega. His voice was clear. The crew worked in silence. Their hands moved fast over the controls. Each person knew their role in Vega's battle plan. Human ships darted around the lumbering Brenyon flagship. The human ships were fast and nimble. They zipped forward to strike, then vanished before being hit back. Each strike was carefully planned to hit the core. Brenyon cruisers exploded as their cores were hit. Powerless ships drifted, colliding with allies, adding to the chaos. Vega's ships were silent. Signals and flares cut through space, giving orders. The Brenyon stayed blind to human tactics. On the Brenyon flagship, Warlord Zerak slammed his fist down. His voice, once deep, now edged higher. Forward! Break them! But his ships drifted, damaged by unseen enemies. Their limbs were cut, their hearts faltering. The Brenyon weapons were confused by human ships rolling, looping, and feinting in ways they didn't understand. Each move was more daring, insulting Brenyon pride. Ships and lives were lost. Both sides paid a toll. But human resolve only grew stronger with each loss. Renewed vigor met each blow. Vega stayed calm amidst the laser fire and railguns. His silent orders reached every human. The diverse ships moved as one under his guidance. Zerak watched his fleet unravel. What were these humans? Weak creatures, fighting with mighty tenacity. Vega knew the cost and value of this battle. With each drifting Brenyon ship, each baffled Brenyon command, the tide turned for humanity. This was a test of human will. In the silent battlefield, the Brenyon learned what human spirit meant, a lesson etched in the stars. Dirt sprayed as the automated turrets on the rooftops opened fire. Their streams of bullets shattered the thick exoskeletons of the advancing Brenyon forces. The creatures fell swiftly, their advance faltering before they could return fire. "Alpha Team, go!" yelled Harris. He glanced at his smeared map, then back at the rubble-filled streets his rangers knew by heart. They moved through a shattered storefront, glass crunching under their boots. In the city center, the road once filled with traders stood empty. Harris had ordered explosives buried in the asphalt. A Brenyon transport rumbled into the kill zone. The blast was deafening, lifting and twisting the metal beast before slamming it down in flames. Camouflaged rangers poured from alleys with rifles cracking. Each shot dropped a Brenyon warrior. The rangers moved with precision, anticipating enemy actions. Heavily muscled shock troops charged only to be gunned down from unseen angles. Harris leaped a barrier and rolled up firing. His rangers followed the well-rehearsed dance. They flowed where the Brenyon marched mechanically, silent to the invaders' noise. On a roof, a ranger signaled success. More Brenyon approached, and Harris redirected his forces with hand gestures. No words needed. They knew the plan. Nearby, a baker in an apron fired his rifle with ranger precision. His daughter crouched behind the counter, steady aim on her own rifle, eyes fierce. In the command post, Harris grabbed the radio, voice firm as he repositioned his teams. "We hold," he repeated, punctuating their vital mission. Each Brenyon push met earthly resistance, their assaults overwhelmed by cornered defiance. Warships battled overhead, but the ground fight was just as desperate. Harris stood firm, rifle ready, resolve fueling those around him. To them, he was the unshaken leader, the unrelenting warrior, the unconquered human. This was their planet, their home, and they would not yield. Zerak's ship shook under the hum of Brenyon machinery. Soldiers watched him, waiting for orders to snatch victory from defeat's claws. Zerak's eyes darted around the bridge. This battle was new. Fear pierced his chest. Kragan stood at the back, face tight with controlled rage. His chest heaved with breath. He watched Zerak, then stepped forward. "Madness!" Kragan's voice cut through the bridge sounds. Crew turned, eyes wide. Some nodded, others shifted, uneasy. Zerak faced Kragan. "Question me again and die." His words were fast and harsh. "We follow you to death! For what? Honor?" Kragan's eyes blazed. "No more." The ship went silent. Soldiers eyed each other. Kragan had voiced their thoughts. Some stepped toward him, movements small but firm. Zerak reached for his weapon, but his hands shook. The once united Warfleet was breaking. Whispers turned to shouts. Rebellion stirred. Meanwhile, chaos reigned on Terra Nova. A Brenyon lieutenant lay trapped by humans. Sergeant Harris leaned close to the defeated alien. "Talk," Harris said. Not a question. Fear flickered in the alien's eyes. It spilled secrets. Harris learned of a chink in the Brenyon fleet's armor. Harris turned, radio in hand. "Vega, we've got something." Admiral Vega listened, eyes narrowing. The information shot adrenaline through him. "Focus fire on their flank," Vega ordered. Human ships converged on the exposed Brenyon side. Weapons were precise, relentless. Explosions tore through Brenyon armor. In the brig, Kragan heard the chaos. He knew he'd been right. Humans fought with heart. Above, the flagship's shields died. Brenyon ships scattered, formations broken. Fear spread. The relentless assault was too much. Hunters became hunted. From his cell, Kragan watched the fleeing ships. He knew this was the turning point. Humans had won. The Brenyon were done. They had learned. Never fight humans. The Brenyon flagship blared alarms. Smoke choked the air. Admiral Vega commanded his squad. "Board them!" The shuttle smashed into the hull with a screech of shredding metal. Decompression flung alien bodies into space. Sergeant Resnick led his team through the smoking breach. They moved in silence, communicating with hand signs. Gunfire flashed at every turn. Precise shots dropped each enemy. The Intrepid hammered the failing shields with relentless bombardment. Inside, shockwaves threw the aliens off balance. Consoles sparked and fizzled. Resnick's team pushed through the disoriented Brenyon. Shots ricocheted in the littered corridors. They closed on the bridge. Behind the doors, Warlord Zerak roared at his warriors. The humans burst in, rifles cracking. Melee erupted, bone crunched under human fists. Alien blades clanged off armor. Zerak towered over Resnick, massive curved blades swinging. Resnick rolled, came up shooting, but the close combat left no room for guns. It was personal, desperate. Resnick ducked the warlord's swings, punched his abdomen. No effect. Zerak's laugh was cut short as Resnick's knife, the one used for wire and bread, found gaps in the armor. A clean joint thrust, a roar, a gurgle, a thud. Zerak crashed down. Resnick stood over the still warlord. Around him, the Brenyon soldiers paused, leaderless, afraid. Zerak's fall echoed over the radios. The Brenyon ships lost cohesion, scattering. Human cheers filled the channels. On the Intrepid, Admiral Vega watched the rout. "Hold fire. Let them run." The bodies in fleeing ships carried his message. Never fight humans again. The war for Terra Nova had turned. The human fleet attacked. A message spread from ship to ship. "Zerak is dead." The human fighters saw it on their screens. They were surprised and happy. In space, the Brenyons panicked, hearing the news. Warning lights flashed as pilots lost control of their formations. Sergeant Harris got the message through his earpiece. "Zerak's gone. Push him back." His voice was steady. It made the Earth Rangers fight harder. They used the dead Brenyons' guns against them. Human snipers aimed through holes in broken walls. The fancy Brenyon armor made them easy targets. Shots rang out. Each one hit and killed a Brenyon officer. Their chain of command was broken. Some Brenyons surrendered, hands up. Others ran, scrambling to escape. Their march had become a panicked sprint. Harris walked the smoking streets with his team. They passed collapsed walls and scorched ground. Harris saw an abandoned Brenyon gun. He picked it up and shot down a drone. It crashed in flames. Lieutenant Kragan came on the radio, voice strained. "Cease fire! I repeat, cease fire!" Harris stopped with his hand on his rifle. He thought for a moment. In space, Admiral Vega leaned back with a frown. The bridge went quiet as he nodded. "Stand down," he ordered. They powered down their weapons, relieved. Vega opened a channel to the Brenyon flagship. "We accept the ceasefire. No more killing today." The order echoed out by radio. Humans stepped back but stayed alert. Brenyon slumped and dropped their weapons. Vega turned to his officers. "We show mercy today. Let this redefine what it means to be human." They nodded, proud. The fragile Sci-Fi held that day. Humans stood tall, knowing war's cost and peace's worth. Vega sat across from Kragan at a table made from a piece of Brenyon hull. The air smelled like burning and dust. They were surrounded by wreckage, in a tent serving as command center on ravaged Terra Nova. Soldiers moved outside, shadows visible through the tent's thin walls. Vega had a datapad with surrender terms. Kragan stood stiffly but nodded, accepting. "You'll pay for what you did here," Vega said. "Our technology and prisoners in exchange for leaving Terra Nova. And don't return or remember this day. We won't be so nice again." The Brenyon ships lifted off, leaving smoky trails. Human teams hauled away the advanced Brenyon weapons. Vega turned to scientists and engineers. "Study what they left. It's the future of our fleet." They nodded eagerly. Nearby, Sergeant Harris sent teams to clear rubble and set up medical tents. "Get power back to the hospital," he told Smith. She headed out, boots crunching. Engineers strained to extract a Brenyon turret. "Careful," Harris said. "That's not scrap." In shelters, civilians told of the unlikely victory. A mother explained to her children, "We stood strong. We showed them who we are." In the medical tents, a steady-handed doctor treated the wounded. "Will we be okay?" a young man asked her. She wrapped his arm and squeezed his hand. "We're human. We'll be okay." Outside, Harris gave food and water to families. They thanked him, weary but grateful. Harris looked at the clear sky. Their home was scarred but still theirs. With the Brenyon tech and human spirit, they would rebuild stronger. And their story would inspire across the galaxy. The human spirit could not be broken. Terra Nova was a wound. Now it's a scar. The ruins buzzed with life. Not Brenyon fighters, but human builders. Workers came from Mars, Luna, distant colonies. They carried tools, robots. Terra Nova needed help. Sergeant Harris stood on the rubble. His uniform was dusty, but he was determined. He told the drones where to go, the crews what to build. Alien tech worked alongside human machines. Steel beams rose, guided into foundations. New turrets, human and alien designs, appeared at the city limits. Their black barrels faced the stars, ready for threats. Memorials took shape, stone by stone. Names covered black granite and white marble. Fallen fighters, lost innocents. People stopped and touched names, faces somber. A statue of a ranger stood in the square. No face. Every soldier. Every hero. Life didn't stop, it moved forward. Shops reopened, shutters wide. Kids played ball in the street. They cheered when Harris walked by. He nodded, smiling under his stern face. His voice rang out on the training grounds. "Remember this. This is how we live." Recruits watched holograms of battles, human and alien. They trained, sweated, aimed to join the Rangers. Admiral Vega walked the command center. The savior, they called him. Vega greeted leaders with an idea: unite the worlds. He listened. His voice, once commanding warships, spoke of unity. "We're stronger together," he said, convincing. Meetings followed. Leaders connected over light years. Terra Nova's image, broken then rebuilt, showed what could be. A union took shape, with Terra Nova at its heart. Finally, Vega watched the sky. Ships sailed overhead, united banners, not weapons. Terra Nova stood strong, the foundation of unity, its name etched in human defiance. Admiral Vega marched into the Galactic Council chamber, his boots clanking on the metal floor. The murmurs of alien tongues echoed around him. He scanned the room. High ceilings, crests of 100 worlds carved into the walls. This place meant power. Behind Vega strode the human envoys. No fancy clothes for them. They matched Earth's spirit, plain but tough as nails. Outside the dome, the gray fleet hung in space, victorious. Those old alien reps stared now. Once they'd dismissed Earth. Not after the battle at Terra Nova. That changed everything. The envoys spoke with steady voices. Talked of teamwork. Of watching each other's backs against the Devourers. No begging or whimpering. They offered partnership as equals. Showed the datapads, fleets, strategies, aid for those in need. Vega stood firm as his ships, laid down the facts with precision. Chaos versus order. Isolation versus allies. He'd seen annihilation up close. Led them out of it. His words carried weight. The aliens listened in silence. Vega's reputation preceded him. Terra Nova still rang loud. Their dismissal shifted to contemplation. No fancy words from Vega, just cold reality. The galaxy needed Earth's grit as much as Earth needed the Council. Debate broke out, urgent but not angry. The Council couldn't ignore Earth's bravery against the Warfleet. They realized they needed humans as much as humans needed them. The central dais lit up. The head alien rose, imposing yet graceful. The decision came down. Humans would not be fringe anymore. Offered a seat at the table, a voice in the chorus. Vega's face was stone, but triumph flickered in his eyes. Not for himself, for his people. Now admiral and advisor, his role expanded. Military and diplomacy. The fleets still battle-marked, now carried humanity's banner. Whispers circulated about the envoy's blunt negotiating. Old nations looked to Earth with respect, as equals, as allies. The pieces shifted. Humans took their place beside the Council. Terra Nova seeded a legend across the galaxy. The message echoed through space. Humans were here to stay, as defenders, as allies, a force to be reckoned with. Harris checked his gun as he looked around the cold bridge. His hand-picked crew got ready at their stations, focused on their mission: find the Brenyan who escaped Earth's fury. He turned to his team in their gleaming armor. "We've got the coordinates. Let's move." The ship rumbled softly into warp speed, stars blurring as they hunted in the darkness. Meanwhile, Admiral Vega walked in front of new recruits at the Luna training base. He looked at their eager faces, ready for his words. "Listen up. What you learn here will redefine war. Human brains, Brenyan weapons, an unstoppable force." Vega's voice carried without a mic. The recruits heard him loud and clear. In orbit, sparks flew as builders worked non-stop, fusing human and Brenyan tech. Sleek, dangerous new warships took shape at the dockyards. The smell of hot metal and sight of ships circling filled Vega with pride as he watched from the platform. "More power to the thrusters. Test the shields," Vega commanded during exercises. Ships darted precisely through asteroid fields. Harris's ship dropped out of warp near a rogue Brenyan hideout. "Cloak and cut their escape, now," he said over comms. Silent, they cloaked and ambushed the escaping Brenyan. On a remote moon, Harris led his team between ruined buildings like ghosts. "Movement. 30 degrees left," a ranger whispered. They surrounded the Brenyan before they could react. Precise laser shots cut them down as they scattered. Harris watched his efficient team close in. At the academy, recruits heard tales of Terra Nova, of Vega's cunning and Harris's relentlessness. Battle images flickered on screens, lessons beyond textbooks. "Remember this," an instructor pointed. "Terra Nova was a promise we made. We are the unbreakable line." With peace returning, the galaxy watched as Harris came home triumphant. Vega's recruits graduated, joining the unyielding military. A new era dawned. Humanity's place in the stars was unquestioned. Lessons taught to cadets: never fight humans. Admiral Vega faced the holograms of the Galactic Council members. Their chamber buzzed with chatter from hundreds of aliens. Though the floor felt solid, tension thickened the air. A hologram of the Kryn fleet shimmered before Vega. Swarming ships poised at civilization's edge like an approaching storm. The counselors watched Vega, eyes reflecting the orbiting star maps and projections. They remembered Terra Nova's defiance. Whispers ceased as Vega spoke. "We strike first." Vega's voice boomed in the echoing chamber. "A joint fleet, humanity and allies, before the Kryn swarm swallows us all." Murmurs rose and faded as the council considered his words. Nods and gestures of assent came from robed, armored, and exoskeletoned beings. Back on his flagship's bridge, orders spilled from Vega's mouth. His crew echoed them, relaying the commands. Vega's hands danced across the controls, eyes reflecting the flickering holograms, as he plotted jump points on the galactic map. In the armory, Sergeant Harris inspected his team's gear with mechanical precision. Rifles, ammo, boots thumping the metal floor. They prepped for battle on foreign soil. The joint fleet assembled into formation. Ships of varying shapes formed a steel curtain in space. Engines rumbled, ready for action. On the flagship bridge, Vega watched new signals blink to life. Each marked a new volunteer, a promise to resist the Kryn threat. The Kryn neared. Vega's finger hovered over the command button. "Engage," he said. Chaos erupted, a maelstrom of light and sound. Lasers and railguns blazed deadly trails across the void. Ships spiraled and weaved through torrential enemy fire. The human-led fleet bit hard into the Kryn numbers. On Vega's bridge, the crew shouted updates as data flooded the screens. Vega's orders came crisp and calculated. The fleet responded, moving as one lethal entity choreographed by Vega's strategic mind. Harris's team advanced across alien terrain, kicking up dust. They formed a line, rifles ready. Above, space ignited with burning ships. The Kryn faltered against the human onslaught and Vega's ambush tactics, feints, and strikes. The battered Kryn fleet recoiled. The Alliance pressed their advantage, relentless. One by one, Kryn ships broke formation, their assault unraveling. Amidst the raging battle, Vega stood firm. The memory of Terra Nova fueled their ferocious resistance. The joint fleet's volleys carried human determination. Their maneuvers evoked the power of unity. The Kryn learned the lesson the Brennyon had learned before: never fight humans. Their advance faltered, the frontier secured for now. The united fleet held the line, humanity's banner unfurled across the stars. A blazing signal of defiance and strength for all to witness. The skirmish with the Kryn left Terra Nova damaged, but the people rebuilt, turning the planet into a thriving hub. A place of learning sprouted where ruins once lay, the War Academy of Terra Nova. Students of all species now filled its halls, drawn by humanity's new war wisdom. At the Academy's heart stood Admiral Vega. His cunning tactics had led humanity to victory after victory. Now every student sought to learn those life-saving maneuvers. Lectures packed the steep auditorium as Vega's strategies shaped the art of war across the galaxy. In the crowded hall, all eyes fell upon Sergeant Harris as he took the stage. His commanding presence silenced the room. Lesson 1. There's no prize for second place in war, his gravelly voice boomed. Harris spoke not of theories, but of gritty survival. Every story he told came under fire on the battlefield. Humanity had proven itself more than survivors. They were leaders, innovators, protectors of the weak. The tale of human resilience had spread far and wide. In bars and halls of power, Vega's name carried weight. Some honored his tactics. Others feared this human's growing influence. But all measured themselves against his continued victories. Red warning lights flashed on Intrepid's screens. Admiral Vega read the panicked messages. Outposts under attack. Not a known enemy, but Brennyon radicals wanting to destroy the hard-won peace. Vega tapped his radio. "Harris, gear up. We have a situation." In the armory, Sergeant Harris and his team checked their weapons and armor. Harris's face tightened as the radio buzzed again. Vega's voice, urgent. "Terrorist attacks on our outposts. Brennyon Splinter Group. Locate and apprehend." Coordinates appeared on the console. Harris studied the map. "You heard him. Move out." Harris' ship detached from Intrepid, engines humming. It slipped into the warp tunnel, stars streaking by. Vega called the Brennyon leader on a secure channel. The Brennion's face was dark with shame. "Admiral, we don't approve these attacks. We will help." Data flowed between the Brennyon and human networks, pinpointing locations. Harris's ship emerged from warp, near a craggy, desolate moon. Boots hit the dusty surface as the Rangers landed. They crept between shadows, visors down, weapons ready. Radar showed the Radicals' position. Hand signals sent the Rangers fanning out, encircling them. Through his scope, Harris saw figures scrambling over rocks, cloaked and hunched. The Radicals didn't see the Rangers close in. "Wait," Harris barely whispered. The Rangers' suits mirrored the moon, blending in. The Radicals continued their patrol, unaware. Then at once, the trap snapped shut. Flares lit the sky, blinding the Brennyon. Harris and his team pounced. Silent shadows in the chouse.
Swift, precise stun rounds dropped the Radicals. limbs locked by the pulse charges. They lay shaking on the ground, overwhelmed.
The standoff ended fast. The bound radicals watched the Rangers, eyes showing respect and fear. Harris radioed in, triumph restrained in his voice. Target secured. Vega nodded. Bring them in. We'll show justice, not revenge. The Rangers escorted the captives to the ship. The moon receded as they blasted off, heading back where justice waited. On Intrepid, Vega and the Brenion leaders spoke with the prisoners behind them. Peace holds, Vega affirmed. Humanity upholds it. The swift, fair handling of the crisis echoed humanity's dedication to stability across star systems. Admiral Vega sat in the dark command center on Intrepid, his eyes locked on the screen as the last radical Brenion threat blinked out. He cracked his knuckles and leaned forward. Jabbing the comms button with his finger, he said, "Time to get everyone together. Make a summit plan." His words were firm, straight to the point. Word of the proposed summit flashed across the systems, hitting leaders on planets across the galaxy. Replies flooded back, all agreeing to come. Soon a neutral planet buzzed with different alien chatter and starship engines firing. The air felt uneasy, everyone waiting to see what would happen. The landscape was bare under a yellow sky, just mountains and plateaus. Shuttles landed, and figures of all shapes walked out onto the metal ramps leading to the summit hall. Vega watched from a balcony as the crowd grew, a mix of life from across the galaxy. Each one represented a people, a world, a system. Their footsteps echoed off the high ceilings as they walked into the hall. The murmur of 100 languages filled the room. At the podium, Vega looked out over the assembly. He cleared his throat and the room went silent. "Friends," he started, his voice carrying, "we're here to work together. A community to face threats side by side, not alone." Nods and sounds of agreement moved through them as he talked. Vega pushed for shared defense, open trade, and standing together. Behind closed doors, Harris walked the hallways lined with banners. He slipped in and out of rooms, checking terms on his datapad, fixing clauses. Vega's vision depended on this background work. Harris traded quick handshakes with delegates, subtle nods as deals were made. Groups argued, pointed at star charts, tapped displays. They fought over details, then gave in and found compromise with careful words. The last day came. A table stood in the great hall holding the fresh printed pact, pages crisp. One by one, each delegate marked their stamp, claw, tentacle, or fingerprint, sealing the deal. Vega watched with a simple smile as the pages filled. Each mark was a promise for unity, with humans at the center. Ships lifted off when it was over, leaving trails across the yellow sky. The planet was quiet again, its role done. Humanity, Vega, and Harris had their place now. Leaders in the galaxy. Peace hung in the balance of power, with Earth's children holding the scales. The summit hall buzzed with voices. Delegates debated and bartered, planning their shared future. Admiral Vega's voice cut through the noise as he pushed for unity. A sharp ping interrupted, marked urgent and encrypted, a message just for Vega. He nodded and stepped away. It was from home, from the scientists on Terra Nova. They'd cracked faster than light travel using reversed enemy tech. This changed everything. Vega turned to his aide. "Get the delegates ready. I'm heading home." Vega strode through the corridors, intent on departure. In the cold shuttle bay, engines growled to life. Moments later, Vega pierced the sky, summit fading below. On Terra Nova, the research lab was electric. Engineers scribbled notes and calculations, voices echoing ideas. Vega's arrival electrified them further. "Show me," Vega said, urgent and eager. The lead researcher's eyes flickered. "Harnessed their tech, added ours. There's the prototype." He pointed to the gleaming, unfinished ship. Vega touched the smooth hull. "When's the test flight?" "Ready now? Just need a volunteer." Vega knew just the man. He found Harris relaxed but alert. "Got a job for you? Interested in history?" Harris's eyes sparked with curiosity. "Always, sir." The next day, under the sun, the prototype stood ready. Final checks were called. Harris crossed the gantry, steady and familiar. The ground crew saluted their farewell. The engines ignited in a controlled explosion, hurtling Harris into the sky. Humanity held its breath. The ship shimmered and disappeared, a successful jump. The control room erupted in cheers and triumph. Hours passed tense and waiting. Then a signal. Harris at the system's edge. He had taken humanity further than ever dreamed. "You should see the view," Harris said over the crackling comms. The news spread instantly. New shipyards were commissioned. Cadets trained feverishly. Engineers worked to replicate the technology. The human spirit, unbreakable before, now rode waves of light itself. Harris stared at the glowing screens. Each one showed a new world, ripe for the taking. Stars and planets awaited exploration. FTL engines let humans spread across the universe. A young engineer pointed to a screen. "Sir, this one. Prospect 1. Breathable air, normal gravity. Scans show titanium deposits." Harris nodded. "Prep a team. We land at dawn." Ships screamed into the pink sky, eager to nestle on this new world. Boots crushed the red grass. They staked claims and mapped the land. Drones marked future mines and farms. A flag caught the wind. On Earth, Admiral Vega stood rigid before the council. His words were crisp. "We're here to grow, not exploit. New colonies bring growth and allies, a chance to build the peace we've fought for." Vega detailed the plan. Sustainable colonies, shared tech, mutual trade routes. A map blinked to life behind him. Lights marked human ships carrying goods between stars. Each light, a dream made real. On a dreadnought, a captain watched new signals appear. Ore ships from colonies met alien traders. Handshakes sealed deals. Her orders rang clear. "Protect our people and allies. This is how we build the future." On Prospect 1, Harris inspected the settlement. Scaffolds climbed, machinery roared. He checked on workers at a generator, the heartbeat of their future city. In his office, status reports chirped success. Housing, water, communication. Harris approved each milestone with a firm nod. On a neighbor world, alien children attended a new school, laughter mixing with insect hums. Sustainable growth was everywhere. Solar arrays, farms in tune with nature.
At a spaceport, traders from across the stars gathered, bartering under common law. Different faces with a shared goal. Prosper together.
Evening fell on the colony. Harris gazed up at the swirling gas giant overhead. Around him, workers paused in awe. The human spirit, once bound by oceans, now danced across the stars. Guided by steady hands like Harris and Vega, writing the next great chapter. The skies over Prospect 1 were empty, except for the occasional flash of a survey drone. Harris walked along the colony's new outer edge watching workers. Engineers checked hologram blueprints and precisely swung hammers, tightened bolts. Each tool's clang and grind rang with the colony's growth. An Explorer rover veered off course, sensors picking up a faint signal. Harris tapped his arm console, ordering a direct feed. "Got something," he muttered, staring at the strengthening signal. His communicator chimed. "Admiral Vega, sir," the operator said. "Go ahead." Vega's static-laced voice held curiosity. "Report, Harris. We've got an anomaly there." Harris watched the blinking dot. "Possible contact, nothing we've seen before. Sending a team out." Light years away, Vega felt that familiar allure of the unknown. "Use caution. Keep me updated." The team navigated jagged valleys and wind-carved rocks, stopping before a gleaming, pulsing monolith. It jutted seamlessly from the ground, surface shining with alien alloys. A message entered their comms. "I am Sentinel. We have watched. Now we meet." Harris's pulse sped reading the words. His fingers raced across his arm console, relaying it all to Vega. On the Intrepid's bridge, Vega absorbed the data, brow furrowed. He called an assembly on the bridge, flanked by advisors and xeno-experts. A monolith hologram shimmered, Sentinel before it. "Impressive progress, humans," boomed Sentinel's voice. Its sleek form glowed faintly. "We want peace," Vega said plainly, "and caution with the unknown." Sentinel dipped its head in understanding. "Wisdom. You guard your freedom. This is wise." The dialogue flowed. Vega listened intently, nodding to record it all. Sentinel spoke of energy matrices binding stars, philosophies shaping eons. Knowledge traded hands, from entities as old as time to Earth's children. Sentinel wisdom revealed gravitational tech, boundless energy sources, and societies promising lasting peace. Across human worlds, scholars pored over the data, excitement palpable. Ships and docks shifted as engineers used new techniques teasing space-time fabric. Vega watched as war-savaged Terra Nova became a beacon of enlightenment. The United Species Council, humans at the fore, met Sentinels. Together, they planned futures beyond war, embracing discovery. From Terra Nova's scarred soil to distant orbiting academies, humans absorbed the teachings. They stood at a new dawn, eyes open, hands extended in friendship and understanding. Humanity took its first steps into the wider cosmos. Their future was unwritten but full of potential. The galaxy watched as humanity walked beside Sentinels to previously unreachable realms. The command center bustled with activity. Screens blinked with updates. Admirals Vega and Harris stood together, calm presence amid the officers' work. "Report on the trade group," Vega demanded. An officer turned, datapad in hand. Sentinels oversaw it. New allies, resources, potential colonies. Vega nodded, satisfied. "Good. Expand. Focus stability. Sentinels respect our peace vision." Nearby, Harris checked rosters, focused. Alpha and Beta ready for missions. They understand our cause. As Vega addressed the room, voices quieted. "With Sentinel's blessing, we guard the hard-won peace. Let's not forget the sacrifices. Defend, grow, but unite. That is our mission." Resolved faces nodded around the room. A signal came. Eyes fixed on the Sentinel's flickering hologram. "Greetings, Admiral Vega, Sergeant Harris," it said. "Progress echoes. Your resilience inspires." Vega clasped his hands. "We're honored, but not alone. We bridge civilizations seeking ideals." Harris's eyes gleamed with unspoken battle wisdom. "Fighting alone brings ruin. That's not our future." Pride swelled in officers' chests. "Experience and wisdom drive us forward," Vega continued. "Never fight with humans, not just a warning, but an invitation to unite." The Sentinel inclined agreement. "Unity is strength. We share your story as a beacon." Applause rippled. Shared accomplishment. In the days after, life flourished. Laughter rang through monuments. New towers energized growth. Delegations witnessed human determination's fruits. Harris led tours. "We're here because we stood together. We adapt. We overcome." Vega fostered fresh cooperation. Once impossible, now reality. Under sunlight, Sentinels and humanity's best gathered, shaping doctrines for generations. Humanity hailed, champions of a collective future. Underestimated once, now etched into the cosmos. Ships readied for exploration beyond dreams. Never fight with humans became a galactic chorus. Proof of unity's strength under Vega and Harris's guidance. Safeguard peace. Inspire through action. Hold to human relentless determination.